Alright, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. It's time to look like a ghost because I'm recording at night and I got a whole bunch of crypto news for you. So the first thing we're going to talk about is that AMD was blinded by easy money and now it's paying the price. But for some reason, I kind of doubt that because they made a lot of money. So few companies benefited more from the cryptocurrency bubble than inflated in 2017. AMD, the company's graphics cards, were well suited to perform calculations necessary to mine these digital currencies. I think this was written for people who don't mine actual cryptocurrency because anybody that's actually into cryptocurrency would not need to know that calculations necessary to mine these digital currencies. Either way, let's continue. So sales to cryptocurrency miners boomed as the mania progressed, creating graphics card shortages, pushing up prices. We all remember that. And it wasn't hard to see that it was a massive, unsustainable bubble. Maybe a little too far on that one, but it did kind of bubble and then burst, but not to zero or anything. Unless you happen to run AMD, that is. The company was ramping up production of GPUs earlier this year, even after the cryptocurrency prices had begun to collapse, rather. So to keep up with demand, but that demand was ephemeral. I love that word, ephemeral. And as they warned, a crypto crash could derail AMD. It's a strategy that will work until it doesn't, since so much of the demand could disappear without a trace. So not only that demand vanished, but it's having a bigger negative impact on AMD than the company expected. So GPU sales in AMD classifies as blockchain related were negligible in the third quarter. You think? Down from a high single digit percentage of total sales in the third quarter of 2017, and this steep decline was entirely expected in the second quarter earnings call. So the CEO, so for Q2, we were approximately 6% of revenue for blockchain. In Q3, we were planning for very little blockchain. So I just want to show you the AMD stock price, and you can really clearly see this. So about a year ago, we can see that like when January started to come around, it didn't really affect AMD nearly as much as NVIDIA, because if you look at this with NVIDIA, you can see that it really exploded during the crypto boom, but NVIDIA was a little different. It went up for sure, and then kind of went down, and then started to go up again because of the Ryzen processors and stuff were selling really well, and then for some reason, it just exploded, and people within like a couple weeks were like, hey, nobody's buying our GPUs. Uh-oh, that's not good. We produced way too many GPUs and nobody bought them. Whoops. Also, AMD, you haven't produced a new GPU in a while. I know they're starting to come out with some new series, but for the most part, NVIDIA beats you to the punch every single time. And you've been rocking them Vegas for a long time. And not that the Vegas are really bad, but come on, get with the program, AMD. But moving on from that, China sanitizes Andreas Antonopoulos' book, Mastering Bitcoin. So this is kind of interesting. Really good job, China, on this one. Really good censorship. It's very Maoish, if you know what I mean. As Twitter-based cryptocurrency news resource OnLedger reported, it had showcased an edition of Mastering Bitcoin, a presenter holding a copy with the title printed in both English and Chinese. While the English title is visibly the same, the Chinese translation fails to make any mention of the word Bitcoin at all. OnLedger notes it instead reads blockchain, the path towards digitized assets. So the curious incident, which received both scorn and ridicule on social media, comes after Beijing authorities stepped up a ban on cryptocurrency trading and promotion in August. Again, come on, China. You guys don't want to make money off this? You really don't want to make money off this? You just want to have people like making Nike shoes and stuff like that? Really? You don't want to get on the blockchain? Okay, fine, China. Jeez, oh man. This is like how many bands is this? I'm looking at my watch here, but I should be like looking at a ledger or something. I don't know. How many bands is this for China? This has got to be like number 5 and counting at the very least. So far from being dismayed at the censorship, however, Antonopoulos, who is well known for publicly calling out authorities' attempts to subdue cryptocurrency, suggested the publicity in and of itself represented a vote of confidence. Of course it is, because, I mean, we all like Andreas Antonopoulos in the crypto world, or at least I would assume most people do. Of course he's not going to complain about it because his book is selling in China, and that's a lot of money. So I wouldn't complain either. I'd be like, okay, well that sucks, but it's good for me. So how cool is this? Mastering a Bitcoin first edition on Chinese national TV. Commented on Twitter, even with a slightly sanitized title, no mention of Bitcoin. The content is the same, so that's okay. The content is the same, but they just kind of scrubbed that title a little bit. Just a little eraser on there. Don't let the people know about Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin is probably mentioned 20,000 times in the book. But we'll take it away from the label, the cover of the book. So that'll sway the people into not wanting to buy Bitcoin after reading a really long book on blockchain and Bitcoin. Seems like a waste of time. But it is what it is. Good job, China. Good job. Moving on, the U.S. court dismisses lawsuit against Coinbase for the alleged BCH insider trading. So this happened a while ago, and there was all kinds of allegations of Bitcoin Cash insider trading on Coinbase because it was ninja added about 7 or 8 days, something like a week basically, before it was actually scheduled to go on Coinbase. And when it was pumping super, super hard just days before it went on. Among other things, it looked pretty shady, to be totally honest. So we're not going to get into this one too much, but a major U.S. crypto wallet provider and exchange, Coinbase, has been granted a motion to dismiss a lawsuit over alleged insider trading during its launch of Bitcoin Cash support last year, according to court documents published October 23rd. So U.S. District Judge Vince Cabria, it's intense, from the Northern District Court of California found that plaintiff, Arizona resident Jeffrey Burke, had not sufficiently articulated the legal basis for his claims in his complaint. Have you ever noticed, I'm from Arizona, but have you ever noticed that everybody that actually tries to sue, BitConnect, I remember the Trevon James and Crypto Nick thing, one of them or several of them were from Arizona, and it always seems like Arizona residents are always suing if something goes wrong in cryptocurrency. So, A for effort on that, because sometimes, maybe somebody needs sued from time to time for being a fraud or a Ponzi scheme or insider trading or whatever, you know what I mean? But Jeffrey Burke, you failed us all, my friend. Have you not watched Judge Judy? You gotta come to that court with more evidence than that, my friend. You gotta come prepared, man. You go on Judge Judy and you don't have your documents ready. Woo-wee, you're gonna lose that case in a second. Watch some Judge fucking Judy before you do that, man. Come on. Come on, Jeffrey Burke. You failed us all. Moving on. Delaware reveals its role in the takedown of British hacker Grant West. A Wednesday release from the U.S. Attorney's Office Delaware District revealed the role Delaware played in the capture of West. Federal authorities working out of Delaware were able to seize roughly $217,000 worth of Bitcoin subsequent to West's arrest. Ooh, say that one 10 times fast. While the tiny state of Delaware seems an unlikely factor in an international hacking case, Delaware is actually home to the server operations of many banks. Just to let you guys know, in case you're not from the United States, Delaware basically doesn't exist to Americans. Delaware? Like what? Like Rhode Island is like the smallest of the states, and it's way more relevant than Delaware. Trust me, even Americans don't even know that Delaware exists. Like, you'll see it on a map, and you'll be like, whoa, what's this little place over here? Delaware? What? That's crazy. Like, why isn't that just, merged into another state, today? But either way, it still exists. Crazy fact. Delaware for years have been the site of large numbers of government seizures of dollars from the bank accounts of suspected criminals because so many banks keep their central servers in the first state, probably because nobody knows where they're at. So that's why they probably keep them there. You'd probably find bank servers in the middle of Montana before you'd find them in Delaware, because does anybody even live in Delaware? I don't think so. Delaware's location within the northeast corridor of the U.S. surely makes it an opportune location for such operations. Now, the northeast corridor, I'm not so sure about that. I would say that's more like Maine or Connecticut or something like that. I wouldn't really call it the northeast corridor. See, even they don't know where it is, right? It's kind of northeast, I guess, you could kind of say that. Even they don't know where it is. You see what I mean? Guys, I'm telling the truth. Grant West, see, this is the chump right here. Nice try, buddy. Grant West, ever the consummate hacker, was responsible for hacking servers belonging to over 100 companies using phishing techniques and other methods. Oh, God, one of those scammers. I hate those. Grant would sell off the personal information he acquired, laundering the profits via Bitcoin. West was arrested last year on a UK train with his hands on the keys of his computer. Oh, my. So while Grant may never have stepped foot in Delaware, he was utilizing the Wilmington, Delaware located servers of crypto exchange Poloniex in order to store the Bitcoin. The U.S. federal investigation centered around Grant's holdings 217,000 cash money in Bitcoin, of which were seized from Poloniex by authorities as part of the operation. Nice try, my friend, but man, get a better job. Moving on, surveillance state per excellence. Coinbase's stablecoin is the demanding one and will shut you off if you don't comply. So I've heard so much FUD going around about Coinbase's new stablecoin and how absolutely horrible it is, and it's starting to get worse and worse by the day. So now that we have another completely opposite coin to the Bitcoin market, let's see what we are allowed to buy with USDC. The principal notion of Bitcoin movement is self-sovereignty, individual freedom, and censorship resistance. Sure is. Stablecoins like USDC are the total opposite end of the spectrum. They completely control the asset, monitor every transaction, and can stop and ban you at any time. How about that for censorship resistance? So as per the official agreement, using the USDC services for transfers related to the following is prohibited, and Circle reserves the right to monitor for transactions that relate to many things. So this gets better and better as you read it. People from restricted territories are not allowed to use USDC. Those territories right now include, without limiting to the foregoing, you may use the USD services if you are a resident, national, or agent of Cuba, North Korea, Sudan, Syria, or any other country to which the United States embargoes goods. Yeah, if you're from those countries, screw you. You lose. You can't use it. Most of those, I get it, but just because the United States embargoes them, you can't use USDC, even though it's not a US coin by any means. It's just... somebody just made that up, basically. So you're on the table of denial orders, the entity list, or the list of specially designated nationals, restricted persons, or you intend to transact without any restricted territories or restricted persons. So you could be on restricted territories or restricted persons. If you just happen to be from those countries, definitely don't use it, because they could just stop you because you just happen to be Sudanese or Syrian and you're living in the country, okay. Next, you can't buy any type of weapon. Even knives are forbidden. You can't even buy knives, anything. So that could also be misconstrued heavily. Like, what if I buy a hammer? You know what I mean? Like could they, if they really hated me, be like, hey, you bought a weapon? I'm like, no, I bought a hammer from Home Depot. They're like, well, that's a weapon. So if you like doing drugs, go find a different money to buy it, since USDC won't allow you to use them for such purchases. Not even prescription drugs or steroids for bodybuilders. Okay, so I'm pretty sure steroids for bodybuilders are mostly illegal. I'm actually not really too sure about that. And then also buying illegal drugs is illegal. Now I'm not like trying to say that's too big of a deal, but can't even buy those either. Gambling is also off the limits, even though they are aware that some countries allow online gambling. They stick to the U.S. laws and regulations, and anything that resembles gambling is also a no-go. So no gambling with it either, or they'll just turn off your account, take all your money. You got $1 million in there, bye, see ya. For a dimwit that plan to use the USDC to launder money or fund terrorists, sorry, you got to find a better alternative. Well, don't launder money or fund terrorists. Like, wouldn't it be illegal to do that with anything though? But okay, don't do that. So the list is extensive and goes on to mention Ponzi schemes, LMM programs, copyrighted and trademarked items. You also cannot refinance, set a debt, or use Tether Brother for credit repair services. Not can you pay taxes with USDC, counterfeit goods, or anything you purchase via Tor or Tor-like services is also going to set off a red alarm and get you in trouble. So if you buy something with using Tor, you can't, VPNs, Tor-like services. So basically, anything, you can't buy anything with it. Don't Don't ever use USDC coin. You can't buy anything with it. Now, yeah, some of these things are obviously like clearly illegal, like funding terrorism and laundering money. Yeah, don't do that. But like, there's a lot of things on here that are you could, like prescription drugs. I don't know. There's a lot of things. Don't use USDC. That's the most confusing thing I've ever heard, and it's quite vague and very generalized. So it's basically like if they don't like you, they could be like, well, you bought Tylenol. You bought some ibuprofen. You went out and you bought a chef set. You know what I mean? You bought a chef knife set. So we're gonna take all your money. We're gonna take millions of dollars from you. So it could just be whatever. So don't use that. Yeah, don't use it at all. Visa CEO, cryptocurrencies are not a big threat, but if we have to go there, we'll go there. So cryptocurrencies, wow, do not pose a threat to Visa in the near short term, or in the near term, but the credit card giant is prepared to implement crypto-friendly systems if the digital currencies become more established. So basically, Visa just capitulated. Now, it's not really a threat to them now, admittedly, because cryptos are so slow, and Visa is very centralized and very, very fast, and has been around for a very long time. But they basically just said, like, hey, if the competition gets too great, we'll just kind of capitulate and give up, and we will implement crypto things. So we've said for a while now that we're not doing it, and then they're like, oh man, crypto's not going away, so maybe we should think about it. So I think there has to be some kind of market that it becomes somewhat like a fiat currency in order for us to be comfortable. So that kind of makes sense because they don't want like Bitcoin going from 6,000 to 20,000 to 6,000 to 10,000 to 5,000. So that kind of makes sense for like really big corporations. Like, you can't accept like billions of dollars and that sort of thing and then have it crash like 80% on you in 2 weeks. So that makes sense. Kelly said in an exclusive interview with Mad Money host Jim Cramer, adding that crypto was certainly not a threat in the short term or medium term in any way. Didn't mention that long term, though. Fiat currencies are issued and backed by governments like the US, dollar and euro, as opposed to currencies that are backed by physical commodities like gold or silver. Some cryptocurrencies are backed by precious metals. Others are seen as having inherent value. So Kelly said Visa would consider entering the business of cryptocurrencies if we actually think that crypto starts moving from being more of a commodity to actually being to really being a payment instrument. And that's a good thing to bring up because at the moment it's not that great as a payment instrument. It can't be used as a payment. I could send you Bitcoin, you could send me Bitcoin, no problem. I can send it across the world, no problem. But once a lot of people start using one single coin, it starts to really overwhelm it. Now, I know there's a lot faster coins, a lot cheaper coins than Bitcoin these days. But a lot of coins, people are just mining or they're just day trading them to sell it to another person so that they can buy it, so that they can sell it to another person, so that they can sell it to another person. And nobody's actually using it as a currency. And because of that, it's just wobbling all over the place because people are buying it, selling it, buying it, selling it. And how long can that go on? Like, how long can I just buy a used car and then sell it to you? Like, if I had a used car and it had absolutely no engine in it, and I was like, here, I'm going to sell you this car, and you're like, wow, I bet I can spruce up this car a little bit and sell it to another person, but like the engine will never be there, right? So like the car will never work. And that's kind of like an analogy of crypto in the sense that it's not actually being used for what it's supposed to be, like getting from A to B or being an actual currency. And then that person just sells it to another person who waits a few days for it to go up in value and then sells it to another person. And then that person sells it on a big red dip and they lose money on it. And eventually, like, what's the point of even buying the car to sell it to another person? Like, what, I mean, to like make money, I guess, but then you're really not using it for its intended purpose. So, one of those existential dilemmas. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as usual, I will see you guys next time.